black dragons, skull worms, wretched bastards of the dark and decrepit marshes. Black dragons are often regarded as the most evil of all chromatic dragons, if their skull-like appearance didn't already give that away. A black dragon can often be defined by its near ebon scales that sometimes can appear purple due to certain mutations or conditions. They often have a long neck with a sort of sail running down it, which stops at just above their shoulders. Their face appears almost skeletal, hence why they are sometimes called skull dragons. They also have a pair of horns that curve outwards from behind their head, which resemble that of a mammoth except inverted. Instead of curving inward, they curve outward. Of all the chromatic dragons, the blacks are often characterized by being a bunch of pussies. They will generally avoid fighting anything stronger than them and will simply bully anything weaker than them. They love torture. It's like bread and butter. They wake up, they make their morning coffee of swamp water and anthrax, and then they take some torture, slap it between some bread with some milk, some expired milk and moldy cheese, and eat it. Now, black dragons are a very, very skullduggerous type, pun partially intended. They are masters and lovers of the art of the ambush, usually wading in muck water and pouncing on their opponents like a crocodile, usually picking off the weakest one. If you want to expect one thing from a black dragon, expect them to be cruel and expect them to not try to fight fair. They will usually have their minions, usually kobolds or lizard folk, who are generally psychotic and cannibalistic in their case, will attempt to just bum rush the adventurers who are attempting to slay it, and will keep them busy while the dragon skulks behind them and unleashes its acid breath upon the weakest member that it can see. This acid allows it to break into houses or churches or castles by melting down the walls to snatch up people inside. And sometimes it doesn't even eat them on the spot. Sometimes they bring them back to their lair. Not usually to torture them until their screams become boring, or they eventually are fed to crocodiles or the dragon itself. Or they're subjected to a worse fate, becoming food. Now, this process is not like simply cutting someone up. No, that's too nice. The black dragon likes to pickle them. Basically, picking them up, squeezing them, causing a massive internal injury, and repeatedly dunking them in fetid water. Usually essentially waterboarding them. And once they're dead, it throws them into the water and lets them simmer there for a few weeks. After 2 weeks or 3 weeks maybe, it eventually comes back, finds the bloated and pickled remains of their food, and eat it. It also probably smells like arse. I've spent enough time talking about how horrible black dragons are to people. Now I'm going to talk about their interaction with other dragons. Well, first off, black dragons rarely encounter another dragon that isn't a black. And that's mainly because they are very shy around other dragons, and they do not want to fight something that they can't win against. Oh, another thing about them, they will not submit to anyone. They would rather die than work for someone else. Hence why, if they're backed into a corner, they will fight to the death to avoid being someone else's bitch. When it comes to being a parent, black dragons aren't the best. They're not the worst, but they're not the best. normally the courtship involves the parents torturing something and then basically making malfungal over the corpse. Eventually, after about 210 days, the dragon eventually gives birth, and the egg is about the size of a football, and is similar in color to obsidian. The the parent will make a bowl for it to hatch in out of melted down coins and metal, and once the day comes where it hatches, it will pour some birthing acid into the pot in order to help the hatchling out. The hatchling better work fast because the dragon's not going to help it break out of the egg in any other way. Hence why not all dragons survive infancy. After they're born, the black dragon is allowed to stay in its mother's lair, often with the caveat of not getting in her way. While not outright abusive, they aren't very keen on being parents themselves, usually giving the bare minimum of advice to their children. Like, hey, don't accept candy from strangers. Here's how to cook a human. Shut up. All right, first you peel off the leg. Like something like that. But after about 10 years, the black dragon is young and no longer in the whirling stage, where it's promptly kicked out of the nest. It usually will set up a lair somewhat far away, usually dominating a group of kobolds or lizard folk or a bunch of bandits, and it will generally stay hidden for the most part. No town wants a black dragon growing up where they live. That is just recipe for it to kill them down the line. As for their magic, black dragons don't really have any qualms about using anything. They might use they usually like using undead to work for them. So apart from kobolds and lizard folk. They usually will summon skeletons or zombies or mummies, or an ancient one might even summon a death knight or a banshee or something. If you really want to murder your player, use a banshee. They are generally lazy and spend most of their days sleeping. And I assume if they have an ASMR playlist, it would involve screaming, which they probably recorded themselves. Anyways, black dragons are kind of lover boys. Also ignore the thing about the whole that was the mating process I mentioned earlier. This is the courtship process. First, a black dragon will find a bunch of valuable things, usually a bunch of coins, and also side tangent. Black dragons really like coins. They don't care about gems at all. They just love, and I mean they love coins, especially from fallen empires. It just reminds them that so many things have fallen before they have, and that they are still going. And it brings them joy, watching something else crumble. As for the courtship process, a black dragon falls in love, and then they will find a bunch of expensive stuff, swallow it, store it in their gullet, and will fly over to their crush and attempt to show it to them by puking it up. Now, sometimes they will just swallow. They don't always do this when trying to impress a mate, but they sometimes just use their gullet to store stuff that they really want to keep before bringing it back to their lair. But they can't really use their acid breath with stuff in their gullet. So if they have to fight, they'll stop somewhere nearby, that's secluded, usually a forest or a outpost or even some ocean, vomit up their catch and tie it up with something like kelp or rope or trees in order to prevent it from being lost. Then they'll go and fight. However, some bigger dragons, such as greens or reds, will straight up bully the black dragon into puking up its loot and then taking it, usually making the black dragon watch as its stuff gets stolen. usually to the Black Beast's dismay. And another thing, when not having sex, well, black dragons are surprisingly sweet to their mate. Some sing, some make poetry, some offer sacrifices to each other. Others, some might just kiss and cuddle, which you don't bring this up to a black dragon though, because they will skin you alive for saying that. As for what I generally think they sound like, I assume they either sound like Baraka or Shao Kahn. Like, either sound like Baraka or Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat, or they sound Cajun. They sound Southern or Cajun. Or more specifically, like Killer Croc from The Batman. Like, just somewhat like an evil mob boss type character. Overall, my thoughts about them, I really love them. It's really fun. It's really fun to roleplay an evil character, one especially with the voices you can do. I really like their design. I mean, some are much better than others. I also noticed I forgot to switch the images, such as this is the 2024 version of it. I really like this one way better than the first one. This is one worth looking straight at you. Here's one above a treasure hoard. And here's another one holding something. Oh, and that's its breath weapon. And here's a little bit of a deep dive on its design. Oh, and another thing, the older a black dragon gets, the more skeletal its face becomes. So, most of those memes that depict old people as skeletons, that's accurate for black dragons. And in just a moment, I will pull up a couple of D&D books and I will read from them. First, I am reading from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Excuse me. Here's a little excerpt from Fizban himself. Tiamat spent the most time crafting her black dragon. I was flabbergasted at the final product and suggested so many adjustments. But at some point, a project is simply due. Use the map, table, and other information from this section to create unique encounters with black dragons. Creating a black dragon. Use the black dragon personality table, traits, and black dragon ideals tables to inspire your portrayal of a distinctive black dragon. Now, I normally would say do your own thing, but if you want to follow Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, go ahead. Excuse me. Roll 1d8. 1. Trait 1. I demonstrate my brilliance through the cruel subtlety of my actions. 2. Watching the works of lesser beings crumble and fall into ruin fills me with joy. 3. I never confront a threat directly when deceit and skullduggery are available options. 4. Subjugating others is preferable to destroying them. Thralls make life so much more pleasant. 5. I will go to great lengths to obtain deadly new magical knowledge. 6. Nothing lasts forever, but I promise to outlast you. 7. I have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. What consideration does a creature as pitiful and short-lived as you deserve? 8. Collecting antiques and learning about why lost cultures vanished are my reasons for existing. If you can help me in that, I'll let you live. I also like versions of black dragons who are less evil and are just antique collectors. And of all the chromatic dragons, I feel like the black dragon is the most autistic that I can connect with. Like, they're the kind of uncle who like stamp collecting, or like, just giving black dragons little hobbies that aren't psychopathic is just a really funny character trait I can give them. Like, maybe one likes stamp collecting, another one is a paleontologist, another one really likes banking. back to the actual book, here are some of the ideals. Envy. 1. Envy. This is an evil line. If the achievement of others cannot be eclipsed, they can always be torn down. Evil. Acquisitiveness. Any alignment. Possessing what others covet is immensely satisfying. 3. Cunning. Another evil ideal. Destroying your foes without exposing yourself to danger is an art. 4. Adaptability. Chaotic aligned. It is not the most powerful, but the most flexible who can survive. 5. Patience. Any alignment. There is no need to crush a poorly constructed plan when time is on your side. 6. Serenity. Observing a culture sliding into oblivion and along the trek of time puts life into perspective. I probably see that as a black dragon having a midlife crisis. Now on to some plot hooks. Hook 1. A black dragon recently took control over a band of pirates in their backwater hideout. In Bolin, the pirates started raiding nearby shipping lanes. 2. A conflict-adverse black dragon is secretly spraying an alchemical defoliant on local farmland to push the people living in the area away from the dragon's lair. The resulting famine is devastating the countryside. So essentially, the stereotypical grumpy neighbor, but a dragon. 3. Rival realms are secretly being driven to war by the machinations of a black dragon who hopes to revel in the resulting carnage. 4. When swamplands shrink due to prolonged drought, 2 black dragons form a temporary alliance to destroy the nearby town for more living space. 5. The acidic bile of a black dragon is the only substance to melt the lock of the despot's vault. 6. A potent artifact is rumored to lie in the ruins where a black dragon dwells. 7. A group of adventurers and the black dragon are hunting the same treasure in the ruins of a partially sunken city. A black dragon with Epicurean taste is poaching game in a noble's hunting preserve and at a frightening pace. Notice most of these aren't always the most truly evil, but it's just the most petty and dickish stuff it can do. This is a sort of overview of what a black dragon's lair looks like. It's not the prettiest, but the black dragon doesn't want it to look that way. It wants it dark, grungy, and disgusting. As for the lair itself, they like swamps and jungles. The more fetid and dismal, the better. Usually you'll have a swampy lake, a chapel floor, an underground, a chapel tower, rock shock, whatever. I don't know. I'm not reading that. It generally causes a bad smell, poisons water, and overall makes people want to puke. Also, I have another adventure hook. A black dragon is living in a nearby lake and is basically extorting the town for access to clean water via making them pay tribute. And now I shall read part of the 2025 version of the Black Dragon. Dragon of Decay and Despair. Habitat, swamp. Relics are its treasure. Black dragons delight in suffering and ruin. While other chromatic dragons scheme for power and wealth, these dragons seek to tear down all they see and rule over what remains. Black dragons are terrifying creatures with curved horns and withered visages suggestive of a fiendish skull. They typically inhabit stagnant swamps, crumbling ruins, or places of magical or environmental corruption.
Their acid breath scars their domains, eroding the features from ancient statues and leaving nature with festering wounds. Black dragons hoard tarnished symbols of hope and relics of fallen empires. The more sought after the treasure, the more black dragons prize it, particularly if they are responsible for it being lost.
Who could have done that? It couldn't be me. Absolutely not.
Black dragon wormling. Wormlings lurk in bogs and polluted waterways, hunting for prey weaker creatures to overpower. While older wormlings eventually seek out their own territories, recently hatched ones might hunt one another, seeking dominance over their clutch and slaying rivals they can't subjugate. Young black dragons claim a hidden lair, typically in a dismal place accessible only through deadly ruins and treacherous bogs. They delight in exploiting fearful servants and terrorizing small communities, or impress a group of kobolds or troglodytes into their service. Some ally themselves with powerful allies such as Death Knights, vampires, or aberrations such as Kuatoa or Aboleths. By the time they are adults, black dragons are among the greatest terrors in the land. That they claim. Wretched swamps and monster-haunted ruins grow more dismal and spread under an adult black dragon's influence. Morbid cultists and doomsayers frequently gather in the dragon's service, bringing the undead terrors that answer to the black dragon and aid it in spreading ruin to nearby bastions of beauty and peace. Ancient black dragons plot to ruin the whole realms. They seek to corrupt the land, raise undead hordes, bind fiends, and replicate magical disasters. Ancient black dragons strive to create vast, dead domains where they are the greatest thing that remain. And that's it for this video on the black dragon. Next time, I think I'm doing a red dragon? Or gray? Well, after that, I'm doing the nickel dragon, and you guys can suggest which dragons I can do after that. See you next time!